Alrighty, everybody, welcome back to another live stream here on the channel. Hopefully everyone is having a fantastic Wednesday so far. We're going to be talking about the potential for multiple tornado outbreaks today, so there's going to be a lot to talk about, that is for sure. Over the next couple of days and even into early next week, we're going to have the potential for a tornado outbreak. So let me go ahead and see who we have in the chat here so far. Quite a few people here. We have Kevin, we have Ben, Sam, Inverted Cell, Rockets, as well as Kevin, Marcus, Sam, Edits, Aaron. Go down a little bit further here. Dave, glad to see you guys all in here. Grumpy Grandpa, Jason, let's see, and Jinx, and everyone else who is in here who may not be chatting, or if I forgot to welcome you, welcome to the stream. Glad to have you in here. Tanks as well. Let's go ahead and switch on over to our main scene. Hopefully everything is good to go here. Looks good to me. Let's go right ahead and just start with our SPC outlook for today. So we have our slight risk for severe weather still out by the SPC. If you tuned into yesterday's live stream, you would have expected this upgrade that they did earlier this morning. They have upgraded to a decent sized 5% chance for the potential of a few tornadoes today, mainly around and after 7 p.m. Eastern time. So our threat for tornadoes begins to slowly increase really from here on out. It should slowly start to increase as those temperatures start to slowly climb down. Dew points begin to rise up just a little bit. But damaging winds, also a big issue there. Widespread damaging winds, upwards of 80 miles per hour is possible today. The SPC noted 75 plus mile per hour winds possible, so could get a gust as high as 80. And then large hail, actually up to 3-inch in diameter on their watch. They noted up to 3-inch hail being a very real possibility out here, especially in that hatched area, that hatched yellow area. So definitely going to see a few severe storms today. We've already seen quite a few severes, actually. We have 3 severe storms currently out. They just recently issued this significant severe back out here for 1.75-inch hail. That's in central Nebraska. So that's definitely a main concern, is really just hail. The tornado threat should slowly increase, like I said, from here on out. But I don't expect too much tornadic activity tonight. We'll see how it goes. See which way we end up going with these thunderstorms tonight. But these storms here, firing in northeast Colorado, those are going to be the cells that eventually move all the way through Nebraska into Iowa, and then actually eventually into Minnesota. They should die out. Those storms in Colorado should die out all the way up here in Minnesota early tomorrow morning, and then we'll see another round of storms actually intensify from I believe, the same cold front tomorrow afternoon, probably tomorrow early afternoon. It should be a relatively early start, probably about 1 p.m., maybe 2 p.m. Eastern time for those storms to really get going tomorrow. So haven't missed much in terms of severe weather today. I mean, really, not a whole lot has happened. We've had a couple instances of 1 to 2 inch hail. We've had a few gusts upwards of 50 to 60 back out in North Carolina and Virginia. Outside of that, which isn't really that much, we haven't seen like any notable tornadic activity or anything very widespread today. All right, let's go ahead and go on into our day 2 outlook. So this has changed quite a bit. Compared to what our outlook looked like yesterday, this is actually a very major shift. So they have significantly expanded the marginal east and southeast. I'm now included in that, as well as Lucky. They've extended that slight risk and marginal to the southwest. They've extended the marginal, the slight, and the enhanced to the northwest. They've extended the enhanced risk significantly off to the south and southeast. So some big changes there on their newest day 2 outlook from the SPC. They've also introduced a 10 significant tornado risk out in Wisconsin into east central Minnesota for the potential of a couple of strong tornadoes tomorrow. Wouldn't be shocked if this does get pushed even as far west as like Wilmer and St. Cloud, Minnesota. It looks like we could see a couple tornadoes, maybe a strong tornado or two out there tomorrow in the early afternoon as well. Damaging winds could approach upwards of 90 miles per hour tomorrow, especially in that red area. That's where we're looking at up to 90-mile-an-hour winds. They may eventually introduce a hatched 30% backup in this area, wherever that confidence may be highest for damaging winds exceeding 75 miles per hour. And also extremely large hail, widespread large hail up to 3-inch in diameter possible, all the way from almost central Minnesota back out into north central Illinois and Indiana, with also 2.5 to 2.75 inch hail also being possible, all the way back down to almost the Boot Hill of Missouri. So very, very widespread, significant severe weather is possible tomorrow. Inside of this hatched area, which is considered significant, we consider that significant severe weather. There is over 29 million people under the gun for significant severe weather tomorrow. And that does not include the additional 3 million inside of that significant tornado risk. So overall, there is probably around or barely exceeding 30 million people under the gun for significant severe weather tomorrow. So very widespread severe weather threat. Some of the most populated cities there: Chicago, Illinois, Indianapolis, Indiana, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Minneapolis, Minnesota, St. Paul, Minnesota, all under the gun for significant severe weather tomorrow. Then going on into Friday, huge changes have been made to Friday's outlook with the recent significant uptrends that have been occurring over the last couple of hours. They've pushed that marginal risk, slight risk, well off to the southwest, well off to the north, well off to the east, and a little bit expansion to the southeast. They have also introduced a large enhanced risk level 3 out of 5 for severe weather over Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, Missouri, and Kentucky, all inside of that enhanced risk level 3 out of 5 there. So huge changes with their day 3 outlook from the SPC outlook here. And they do mention, let me go read their outlook real quick. So they mention, let's see, significant severe storms are possible with risk for all hazards with this activity, including very large hail, tornadoes. And something that I noticed is this wording right here: intense wind gust. They say intense wind gust. So I don't know the definition of an intense wind gust, but my assumption is that is probably greater than 80 miles per hour. Significant wind gust is 75. A severe wind gust is 60 plus. And then an intense wind gust, I'm assuming, is 80 plus in terms of miles per hour. That is for Friday's risk back out here in Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, and Kentucky. So it looks like they may be anticipating a few MCSs that will be possible into the evening and eventually overnight hours. So Friday could be a big day. There's still a bit uncertainty on how big of a day it may be, but just the location and the setup of it reminds me of a setup we had last year. I don't know exactly what date it was, but I'm pretty sure it was in May. I'm going to go look for it. It reminds me of a setup from last year. See if I can go find it with the slow SPC site. I believe it was around late May. So if I go to 2024, I know it was a moderate. May 21st. Let me see. Nope, that was in Iowa, Wisconsin. Hey, that sounds familiar. May 25th, maybe? That was in Oklahoma. May 26th, maybe? Ah, yes, that's it. May 26th. That was the day me and Lucky saw our power flash in Virginia. Yeah, so that's what this day reminds me of. What was that day 3 outlook? Oh, completely different from what we have here, that's for sure. Completely different. But just the location of it and just how it starts kind of reminds me of this day. Where we should start to see, like, almost instantly, we should start to see a more messy storm mode, and then we'll have the chance for discrete supercells in front of that messier storm mode. So we'll see how things pan out Friday. But it reminds me more of, like, May 26th there of last year. What was the trough for that? Wow. Actually, a little similar. Actually, quite similar. So you had an upper level low located in southern Canada. That's actually a pretty similar trough. So our trough for Friday's threat is going to be located in northern Minnesota. The one on May 26th was located in southern Canada, so not too far. And then it did have a slingshot trough. So the trough in Canada grabbed a secondary trough over the four corners and slingshotted it across the central US. Very similar to what we're going to see on Friday. Actually, very similar. I don't think Friday will be as widespread as May 26th, but just looking for an analog there. And considering that's a pretty close location to where we saw the greatest severe weather on May 26th, I mean, that's not a bad analog there. Look at the reports real quick. So yeah, it looks like Friday is probably going to end up being a very significant day for all severe weather hazards. Yeah, that's not a bad analog at all. I don't think storms will fire that early, and I don't think they will be that long-lived from that day. That day was insane. That was I'm pretty sure that was the most prolific wind event we had last year. It was May 26th. That was one of the biggest outbreaks of the entire year. Let's see. Yeah, so that is Friday's outlook. Make sure you're hyper weather aware if you're in any of the shaded areas here, but especially that yellow and that orange. Remember, it can shift, right? So that yellow could easily be expanded in any direction at any point for their next outlook. Same goes for that orange area. I don't know about a moderate risk. Personal opinion, I think both of these are now moderate risk caliber days. I think both tomorrow and Friday are both moderate risk caliber days. For what hazard? I think maybe both for wind, to be honest with you. I think both of them may be moderate risk caliber days for a 45 sig wind. We'll see how things translate as we get closer. There's definitely a lot of things we're going to be able to figure out once we eventually go into the day of. We're right now for tomorrow. Obviously, tomorrow we're only like, what? We're not even but 20 hours away from storms firing tomorrow. Probably not even that. Maybe even less than that. We really have to see how tomorrow's going to go for morning observation. So I think both days have the potential for a moderate risk. but I don't know if they'll actually issue that. The potential's there, but I have no idea if they'll actually do it. Then as we go on into Sunday, look at the little tiny risk. It's so small compared to like tomorrow. Like compare the slight risk. Tomorrow's slight risk is like this large. And then you go into Sunday's risk and it's just oh, forgot it. It's just that little tiny little slight risk right there. I'm a little surprised they highlighted that. Honestly, I'm a little surprised we even got a slight risk on Sunday, because there was quite the model disagreement there. So definitely severe weather possible on Sunday. I'm a little 50-50 on it. We'll see. We'll see on which way things trend, but I'm kind of 50-50 on Sunday's risk. Monday, not so 50-50 on. So Monday's risk, I'm pretty sure we're going to see the potential for a significant severe weather episode, specifically in Oklahoma into southern Kansas. I think that has the potential to be another significant day for severe weather. And then I expect the SPC to highlight a risk on Tuesday. I don't know exactly what agreement they have, but models are definitely agreeing on the potential for significant severe weather there for Tuesday's threat for really like Oklahoma into Missouri, Arkansas. I'm looking at some model runs right now. Yeah. Although a lot of uncertainty on how strong the trough will be. The GFS is definitely the most aggressive. GFS has it being a widespread tornado event, whereas the Euro and the Canadian are a little bit more confined to like Oklahoma, Missouri, Kansas, like this vicinity right in here. So that would be the area I'm keeping an eye on for Tuesday's event. Wouldn't be shocked if they end up highlighting a 15% out there. So we just got to take it one day at a time. We're going to get through today, then we can get through tomorrow's threat, which is going to be very significant. Looks insane at this point in terms of widespread damaging winds. A lot of tornadoes. Tomorrow should be a quite prolific tornado event, just with how intense our embedded circulations will most likely end up being, due to the pretty high amount of lower level wind shear we'll have, especially up in Wisconsin. Back out in Illinois and Indiana, I've seen a lot of talk about the conditional strong tornado threat, and I mentioned it earlier in today's video. But lower level wind shear, as well as a temperature dew point spread being more elevated, it really leads me to believe we're not going to see a significant threat for tornadoes in Illinois and Indiana until maybe the evening hours. I think once that lower level jet starts to kick up, if there's any storms that have already been established there, maybe after 8-9 p.m. Eastern time, we might be able to see a strong tornado threat kick up somewhere out in this vicinity here, but I'm really unsure about that. That is not where I would be targeting for, if I were chasing. If I were chasing, I would be targeting up here closer to the surface low, probably this area in here. That's where I would go for tomorrow if I were chasing, which that's barely even in the 10 sig tour. Only part of it is. So tomorrow, biggest uncertainty is definitely with the southern extent in terms of the severe threat. The southern extent for your severe threat is very, very uncertain. Look at the wrap. Holy moly. Well, that's quite a different scenario than from what I was thinking of. The wrap is by far the most aggressive. Yeah, still, I think it would be more in the late evening into the night hours. And it would be quite still conditional. I mean, I can't really read the intensity of those thunderstorms the wrap portrays, but I imagine it would still be a bit more conditional in Illinois and Indiana. So we'll see. That's going to be a very close area to pay attention to. This area down here, because there's a lot of uncertainty with it. All right, let's go back out here in Nebraska for today real quick. See if anything... Still only one significant severe. Just wanted to check that. All right, let's go ahead and dive on into some models here. Let's close out that. Switch you guys on over to here. All right. We're going to start with the GFS. A little bit more zoomed out. So for tonight, really not going to see a really good jet stream begin up here. That's right at your right quadrant exit region there. You see a lot of defluence aloft there. Specifically going to see thunderstorms in South Dakota and Nebraska into Iowa, especially into Iowa later on tonight. Doesn't really look that significant for a tornado threat, but definitely big-time damaging wind threat. Big-time hail threat, and still could see a few tornadoes as those temperatures start to decrease towards, well, from here on out. We'll see how low those temperatures go, how high those dew points get. But still could see a few tornadoes today in Nebraska. And then tomorrow, that trough pushes off to the east-northeast. We get pretty good low development here. Your trough becomes very, very negatively tilted, very sharply negatively tilted across the far north-central portions of the U.S. So the main area there to keep an eye on is, in my opinion, right near the surface low. So this is the 500 millibar low. If we go to the temperatures, you can see that surface low is much closer to like South Dakota. So right where those, right where that cold front really trails, that's where I would target the most, closest to that cold front. But also you want to make sure you're going to have good instability. So I definitely wouldn't go like towards South Dakota. I would go into eastern Minnesota. So that would be, in my opinion, that's the best chasing target. Eastern Minnesota, western Wisconsin for tomorrow. But in terms of tornadoes, I mean, that's a very, very favorable environment. We'll dive a little bit more in depth with our HRRR in just a second. Then going into Friday, that traverses even slightly more off to the east. I don't really see as potent of a slingshot as what I once did. See if I can compare that to like this model run. Nope. It doesn't look that much like a slingshot. Too much more like a slingshot anymore. It still is pretty good though. Yeah. Now that I look a bit closer, I can still see it. So you can see it's from like southwest Kansas into Illinois. There you go. It looks quite a bit slower though. Looks quite a bit slower. Is the NAM the same for that? No, the NAM is not the same. The NAM still has it being quite fast. Same goes for the Euro. Or about the Canadian. Okay, so that might just be a GFS thing then. That might just be a GFS thing. Having the GFS might just be a little bit too slow with the trough. Yeah, and then that continues to push through on Friday, Saturday. You get that little short wave in Oklahoma, Texas. That should initiate. I don't see why that wouldn't initiate over Texas. So I would expect at least a marginal risk, if not a slight risk, from the SPC on the day 3 outlook for Saturday on the next outlook cycle, which would be tomorrow morning. Then going into Sunday, just not much of a jet stream response here. You do have a pretty obvious short wave. Pretty obvious short wave here. Located over from about central Wyoming down through... Or rather, central Colorado, my bad. Central Colorado back down through south central Texas. Much of a lower level response there. Pretty good lower level response. Quite a good lower level response there. I imagine dew point's not going to be an issue here. Yep, it's Oklahoma. Yeah, so temperatures, dew points, that's like no issue there. A lot of cape, but you could see even on supercell composite, there's definitely some struggles there with your wind shear. So as you get into the very, very late evening and the overnight hours, that's when your wind shear improves. You don't really get much storm development there. You don't really get much storm development. What about, like, the NAM? The NAM should be in range. Wow, that's a lot of cape. Yeah, but again, lower level response, not very good. Till the overnight hours, and then by then, your thunderstorms are off to the east. Yeah. I mean, I don't really see it, personally. I do see why they introduced the 15%, but... Gracious day. Gracious day. Y'all. Holy crap. Holy crap. I'm on the 18Z. Chill. I am on the 18Z. Gracious day. What is so important about the 18Z? What is it? Point it out. There, if anything, the 18Z is less of a mid-level jet stream response. What's the difference? Lower level response, the 12Z is better. Z is slightly better, but still, I mean, does the 12Z even initiate? Yeah, see, the 12Z, a little bit better. Little bit better. Yeah, so it gets a bit better in the evening. I think that's going to be more of something I want to wait for cams before I really say how notable that may be. But if we just draw it out, I mean, let's zoom in some more here. So your best environment, yeah, see, that's what I was trying to say there. Your best environment is actually west of where your storms are. So you can see your boundaries located back out here. So your favorable environment would be right in front of that boundary, which is located in this sharp area. So right there is where your most favorable environment is, and watch how fast storms move outside of that environment. So Texas, actually, they fire inside that environment in Texas. And in Oklahoma, they fire outside of that. So we'll see. The GFS does not convect. And just so I can show the people who are screaming 18Z. There's 18Z, doesn't convect. 12Z doesn't convect. What about 06Z? Well, 06Z did convect a little bit, but nothing very notable. 0Z from yesterday convected in Texas more. So that's for Sunday. Now, if we go to Monday, Monday is a big time different story. Monday is a fully different story. Thunderstorms fire exactly on top of the dry line. So Monday, completely different. That's why we have a bigger risk in terms of size by the SPC for Monday. And it actually convects twice. So not only do you get convection on the dry line at probably about 22Z or so, but also at 06Z as well. So you get two different initiations there along the same dry line. I imagine one is just storms firing off the dry line like normal, and then the second one is probably with a cold front. Yep. See how towards the overnight hours the dry line moves east? That's because it turns into a cold front there. So storms first fire Monday purely off of the dry line, and then once the cold front comes through, they fire again. And then Tuesday also looks pretty good too. The biggest issue with Tuesday is the trough itself. There's a lot of uncertainty revolving on how strong the trough may be. If you look at the GFS shows a very large, well amplified, negatively tilted trough here with a bunch of defluence aloft all out in front of it. A lot of defluence aloft. Very strong jet stream here as well. And if we go to like the Euro is way further south, and it's still a pretty large area. Still pretty large area, but it is a weaker area of flow, and it's way further south, and it's way slower. Same with the Canadian. The Canadian is kind of in between the two of them. So the GFS is very fast and also much stronger. The progressive biased is what it's called. That's very known for the GFS. So I would definitely lean more towards what the European model run is saying for Tuesday. So I do think, I don't know if they're going to highlight it, but I do think they will eventually highlight a risk for severe weather, probably over Oklahoma, Kansas, Missouri, Arkansas, Texas, somewhere in that area, or maybe over a good chunk of all those states on Tuesday. This is the Euro for Sunday. A lot of different scenarios. The Euro for Sunday looks a lot better than the GFS and the Canadian. All three of those days are going to need to be watched. Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. So we'll see, but all three of those days are going to have the chance for significant severe weather in Oklahoma. One of them ought to be significant. At least one of them. At least, if not maybe even all three of them. I mean, look at that. GFS initiates off, actually also off of the dry line up in Kansas and Nebraska too, so you get multiple points of initiation on the GFS for that dry line. And then Saturday, I want to go to the NAM for Saturday. So the NAM initiates on Saturday. Not very intense convection at all. Not very intense convection whatsoever. But it does initiate off of that dry line as well. Which that's because of your shortwave. You got a pretty potent shortwave. Quite a potent shortwave moving across Texas there. Not a great lower level response, so that's awesome. That's really good. That means you're going to be lacking a lot in lower level wind shear. So that would probably be, let me check dew points. Man, yeah, that would probably be more of a big time hail threat, but still really good. Still a really good threat for at least a spin up tornado. I want to get a sounding on that. I'm going to get it in front. I'm going to get it in front of the dry line. Well in front of the dry line. Not like on it. Or barely in front, but well in front. Well, I tried to avoid convection contamination, but that didn't work. So the main thing you see here is it's still pretty good lower level wind shear. I mean, it's not horrible, but yeah, I think we'll get probably a marginal or a slight risk in Texas and Oklahoma on Saturday. It doesn't hurt to issue like a day 3 marginal, which I wouldn't be surprised if they do just in case it does initiate. And then by the time we get to the day 1, if it looks like it's going to initiate, they can upgrade it. If not, then, you know, they can downgrade it. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see at least a day 3 marginal. So, overall, we're just going to have to take it each day at a time. The mesoscale features are going to matter a lot, as they always do. And we're not going to really know how strong those mesoscale features may be until day of. The day before, we can at least get a decent idea. But day of, that's going to be where we can really tell what's going to happen. So that's why we just have to take it one day at a time. We could still look at the future, though, on model runs. Just really want to take it one day at a time there. Alright, what do you want me to see? I have no idea what that is. But right away I see reflectivity maximum, so that makes me think that is the max reflectivity. But I have no idea what site that is. I have no idea what that is. If it's like if it's like the RFSA or something, you can just throw it right out the window. What model even goes out that far? There is no convecutive model that goes out that far. We have our long-range cams from Shield, but those are never accurate. See if it might be that, but on a different site. Nope. Shield initiates barely east of the dry line, and then it grows upscale into a mess quickly on Sunday. It might be. I didn't think that could reach out that far, though. Yeah, I wouldn't look too much into it, Rockets, in terms of like actually thinking it's going to happen, because a cam model more than 2 days out is very inaccurate. I mean, come on. Let's just think back to every other event when we use the HRRR day of, and almost instantly we say, "Yep, that's not right." So if cam models struggle day of, day before, there ain't no way they're going to be that accurate 4 days out. That's why on Twitter I don't think I have, and you probably won't ever catch me using the RRFSA model. It's just not a good model. The NAM 3K even, I mean, for instance, look at the NAM 3K for like tomorrow. I mean, it just busts pretty much the whole risk. You still get thunderstorms, but none of them look extremely intense. Nothing like the HRRR. That's a wild boundary. Tomorrow, yeah, it's the cap. Actually, it might not be. Let me look. Yeah, it's a mixture of cap as well as weak forcing. You don't have a lot of forcing there. The main area of forcing is really on the northern side of the front. So the big time forcing is like, let me scroll up a little bit. Big time forcing is right here. So that's where your storms will initiate. You can see that's right where they initiate at. Takes them a little bit longer on the tail end, though. So I'm very unsure about the southern side of the risk, like anywhere south of Chicago or south of like South Bend, Indiana. I have no idea if anything's going to initiate there. They've kept a slight risk over much of the region. If I go to their outlook for tomorrow, yeah, see, they've kept a slight risk over much of that area south of Chicago. But I don't know if anything's going to fire down there. That's a big question. This stuff is all grown up scale quickly, and it's all turned into a hot mess. We'll see if anything can get rotating later tonight. Timing for Friday? Friday. Nah, it's probably going to be late afternoon. Sometime in the mid to late afternoon is what I'm thinking. But that could shift around a lot. We could have multiple rounds of severe storms on Friday. Alright, let's see. 7:30, so I want to go check the new HRRR here. It almost reaches into the main time frame for tomorrow. Tomorrow's main event should begin to kick off towards 2 p.m. is what I'm thinking. 2 p.m. Eastern time. And peak will start almost instantly. The peak of our threat tomorrow begins really like an hour right after Storm's fire. Let's see. Yeah, still uncertain if any storms fire near Chicago. Yep, you are right there. HRRR is handling today quite horribly. That is for sure. No, I was thinking about doing a long live stream today, but I'm probably gonna head off at, top of the hour mark in terms of stream time. We'll probably head off here in 20-ish minutes. So, like I said, just stay hyper weather aware. All these days are going to come down to mesoscale features. All of these days, let's see, what's tomorrow? Thursday, Friday, Saturday, in Texas and Oklahoma, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, all the next like 5-6 days, they all could easily produce significant severe weather. And, honestly, probably all of them have at least some of a chance to produce a strong tornado. Of course, the strong tornado threat is quite elevated tomorrow and Friday, but not only tomorrow and Friday, but probably also on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, as well as Tuesday as well. I mean, we're probably dealing with 5-6 days with the threat of strong tornadoes being possible. That's not just trip for too long. Well, tomorrow I will be live tomorrow for a long time. That is for sure. Let's see here. So I know most of you guys probably watched Trey's video featuring Chris Broyles. One very interesting thing I noticed with how he forecasted April 2nd was he didn't pull out, like, I don't think he ever even used the HRRR. I don't think he ever even used the HRRR. The main models he stuck with was the Euro model with a mixture of obviously the Omega project, which is a combination of a bunch of other things, very specifically with the jet streams movement, as well as with just a bunch of parameters. He used a lot of parameters and the only cam he used was the NAM 3K. I believe the NAM 3K was like the only model, the only consecutive model he might have shown. I know for sure he used the NAM. I remember he used the NAM and the Euro and the GEFS ensembles, but I can't remember too well if he used the NAM 3K. I know he used 12K. And I know for sure he didn't use the HRRR. I know for sure he didn't use the HRRR, and I'm 50-50 on the NAM 3K. I'm going to rewatch it like 20 different times. I had to speed through it because I wanted to stream. I wanted to stream a little bit earlier than 7, so I didn't get to watch the whole video. I have to rewatch it probably 2-3 times. But it's very interesting. The Omega Project is extremely interesting, and it does very well with higher end days. Also, he's just used like a bunch of parameters. I mean, if you watched it, pretty much half the video was him just showcasing a bunch of parameters on the Omega Project. Let's see. Okay. You didn't expect it to sound like that? You haven't heard him speak before? Man, I'm surprised. I'm surprised you haven't heard him speak before. Well, that storm might be a cell to watch. I'm gonna switch all back over here so that way the screen's larger. Yeah, our temperatures are slowly declining here, so the tornado risk will probably increase like right when I head off. It would not surprise me at all if we get a couple warnings tonight. I'm surprised you've never heard him speak before, Ben. I guess you haven't watched any of his other videos then. There's quite a few videos. I've been very distracted by this area of rotation. Yeah, we'll keep an eye on that over Brownlee, North Central Nebraska. Yeah, there's quite a few videos on his Omega project, and also just him talking overall about tornadoes on YouTube. We did also get these severes upgraded to 70-mile-an-hour winds, so we definitely could see 80-mile-an-hour wind gusts out of these storms, especially as they hit these prefrontals is what we'll go with. Especially as they hit these prefrontals here and intensify into more of a bow echo shape tonight towards midnight, 1 a.m. Eastern. Yeah, he's done plenty of videos before. None of them have really been pushed out in the weather community, and you haven't really heard of any of them. You gotta go look them up. But there's quite a few. You have to dig for them. Most of them have like 100 to 300 views, so none of them are well known like Convecutive Chronicles video. So I could see why that's the first time a lot of people are hearing from him and actually listening to him speaking instead of just, like the SBC outlooks. Yeah, you have to search for them. It ain't just gonna pop up on your feed, Chris Broyles. And most of them are 2+ years old as well, or even way older than that. So, yeah, that's really it for this stream. I mean, I really just want to talk about all these threats. We went through them very, very quickly. We went through all these threats really fast. I thought it was going to take me at least an hour, maybe even an hour and a half to get through all the information, but nope. I don't really want to do any sounding analysis for these upcoming days because the NAM 3K is garbage. At the moment, it is not handling tomorrow well. So if a model doesn't handle tomorrow well, it is trash there on out. Because whatever happens tomorrow is going to affect Friday. Whatever happens Friday is going to affect Saturday, at least in the Southeast US. So if a model's handling tomorrow's event horrible, then it's not going to be handling Friday's well. I just looked at the NAM 3K once and was like, no. Yep, exactly. That's exactly what I did too. The HRRR, I think, is the most realistic scenario. I think it's the most realistic scenario for tomorrow, but it's still, I doubt it's going to be point on. It's still going to have its issues. So we'll just wait and see what tonight does, and also tonight's going to affect tomorrow too. So the overconvection tonight, if we have any overconvection tonight, or a long-lived MCS that runs through the risk tomorrow, that could affect tomorrow's environment quite significantly. So we'll need to pay attention to see if we get like a MCS that is long enough to clear out some of the warm sector in Minnesota tomorrow morning. So for the next like 3 days, they're all going to be connected to each other. Tonight could affect tomorrow. Tomorrow is going to affect whatever happens Friday. And then Friday's going to affect if we even see anything in the mid-Atlantic on Saturday. Saturday is probably going to be more of a Texas, Oklahoma-focused severe threat day. I haven't looked at CSU. That's something I haven't looked at for Saturday. See if it has a 15%. Yep, it has a 15% in Virginia, North Carolina, and it almost has an enhanced risk on the border of Texas and Oklahoma on Saturday. So I think Saturday it's going to be more focused in southern Oklahoma and around the DFW area. Not really seeing much rotation-wise on any of these storms. That one over Brownlee was a little shock for a second. It quickly wrapped up, but it died out already. So we're probably going to see a couple tornadoes tonight, mainly out in central Nebraska. The strong tornado threat I don't think is going to happen tonight because we've seen so much over convection, so many storms over south central Nebraska that I don't feel like any cells that fire tonight are going to be able to train through that same environment and try to produce tornadoes. The one I would really watch for is that one over Maywood. That might be the greatest tornado threat tonight. But I have stuff I need to do tonight. I have a lot of things I want to finish up tonight, so that way I can free up my schedule all day, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday and Tuesday. So I want to get a bunch of stuff done tonight, so that way I could free up the schedule for the next 6-7 days. So hopefully I can get a lot of stuff done. When is like May 20th? Okay, so I'm busy next weekend. I'm busy next Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Gotcha. Let's see here. I gotta look at the NASCAR schedule. Let's see. Yeah, so they race on Friday and Sunday. I don't miss, or rather, I don't mind missing NASCAR races at all. I don't mind that. I would much rather be here covering a big time severe event than watching NASCAR because I can always watch that replay on YouTube. So, all right, we're probably gonna go ahead and conclude. I just want to do a quick update. If you are just now tuning in and you may not know what's happening here in the U.S. over the next couple days in terms of weather, I recommend you go watch my video. I would normally recommend rewatching this live stream. However, in my video, I actually talked quite a bit more about the stuff we talked about in this live stream. We kind of jumped over all the risks here on this live stream, whereas in that video, I did it in a more orderly fashion. So, I'll catch you guys tomorrow. We'll see when. I doubt I'll be able to. I doubt I'll be chasing tomorrow. I mean, all these days they look a little bit conditional for a severe threat. The heck? Well, that doesn't look so conditional in North Carolina. I don't know if I'll chase. We'll see. We'll see. Lucky will probably chase. I'll probably be here live streaming for you guys. So I'll see you guys tomorrow at some point. It may be as early as 1 p.m. I'll just figure out what I'm doing there. We'll just kind of wing it. But I appreciate the mods from on chat. And I'll see you guys in tomorrow's live stream. Have a great rest of your night. Hurricane season forecast is delayed from here on out. I mean, really, we got too much severe weather. Have a great night. Bye. Stay safe, watch the weather. I'll see you guys in tomorrow's live stream. Have a great rest of your night. Thank you.